I never imagined that a simple Christmas flight home would turn into a nightmare that had the entire cabin staring in disbelief. My 82-year-old grandma, freshly released from the hospital after open-heart surgery, was finally stable enough to travel, and we had booked the bulkhead seats months ahead so she could stretch her legs and avoid blood clots. But one entitled woman in a bright red blazer decided those seats were hers and her family's, and she wasn't taking no for an answer. We had barely settled when she marched down the aisle, pointed directly at Grandma's seat, and announced loudly enough for the whole plane to hear that we had to move immediately. What she did next made my blood run cold. By the time the captain got involved, I was shaking with anger, terrified for Grandma's health, and wondering if the stranger might trigger the very relapse we had all been praying to avoid. Let me take you back. That morning, my name's Alex. We were flying out of Chicago O'Hare, headed to Seattle for the holidays with the family. Grandma had been in the cardiac ICU for nearly 3 weeks following her valve replacement. Doctors only cleared her to fly if she had extra legroom, easy access to the bathroom, and zero stress. My mom and I spent hours on the phone with the airline, making sure every detail was perfect. We paid extra for the bulkhead row. Row 1, seats A, B, and C on the left side. Window for Grandma. Aisle for me to assist her. Middle for Mom. We boarded early with the medical pre-board group. I helped Grandma into her window seat, tucked a pillow behind her back, and made sure her compression stockings were smooth. She was pale, still fragile, but smiling that soft, radiant smile reserved for truly happy moments. "I can't wait to see the great-grandbabies," she whispered, patting my hand. Relief washed over me. We'd made it this far. Then the storm hit, wearing perfume and fury. I noticed her immediately, blocking the aisle with arms crossed, staring at our row like we'd personally insulted her. Mid-50s, perfectly highlighted hair, red blazer over designer jeans, diamond studs catching the light with every turn of her head. A teenage son slouched behind her, and a husband trailed, already looking defeated. She tapped her boarding pass against her palm, leaned over me, and said sharply, "Excuse me, you're in our seats." I blinked, double-checked my app. No, these are 1A, 1B, 1C. We booked them specifically. She laughed, a short, dismissive bark. "Sweetie, I'm Platinum Elite. I always get the bulkhead. Must be a glitch. You need to move." My mom, polite as ever, began, "Ma'am, my mother just had major heart surgery. The airline assigned these seats for medical reasons." She cut her off. "I have a family, too. My son is 6 feet 3 inches. He needs a legroom." The kid behind her looked barely 5 feet 11 inches and was scrolling TikTok. I stayed calm. "We have medical documentation. We're happy to show it to the gate agent or crew." Her expression changed. The fake smile disappeared. She straightened and announced the forward cabin. "These people are refusing seats that are clearly meant for families with actual needs." Heads turned. A few passengers murmured. Grandma's hand tightened on mine. A flight attendant, Marcus, hurried over. The woman immediately launched into a full performance. How she'd flown this route every Christmas for 15 years. How she was Platinum Elite. How her son would be crippled in a regular seat. She even pulled out her phone, presumably showing her status page. Marcus reviewed our boarding passes, saw the medical pre-board note, and politely told her, "Ma'am, these seats are correctly assigned. There's another bulkhead row on the right side, if you'd like." "Absolutely not," she snapped. "That side only has 2 seats together. My family needs 3. These people can split up." At that moment, Grandma shifted uncomfortably. Her breathing was slightly shallow, and I could feel every worry in my chest. Her oxygen levels had been borderline that morning. Stress was the last thing she needed. Karen noticed Grandma. Her eyes narrowed, calculating. Then she did something that made my stomach drop. She leaned down close to Grandma's face and said, "Ma'am, you look perfectly capable of sitting in a regular seat. Don't you think it's selfish to take the only good seats from a growing teenager?" Grandma's eyes widened. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. My mom gasped. I felt every ounce of blood rush to my face. Slowly, I stood up. "Do not speak to my grandmother that way." But Karen, this absolute Karen, wasn't finished. She turned to the growing crowd of passengers and declared, "I guess some people think heart problems give them the right to ruin everyone else's holiday." That's when the gate agent appeared, radio crackly in hand. Someone must have called her. Karen spotted her immediately and pounced, demanding security remove us for causing a disturbance. My mind raced. This is it. We're getting kicked off. Grandma could end up back in the ER. My hands shook as I reached for her medical folder. Then, the unbelievable happened. The captain himself stepped out of the cockpit. A tall man in his late 50s, salt and pepper hair, and a voice that instantly silenced the cabin. He walked straight to our row. Everyone froze. Karen's mouth opened, ready to unload her rehearsed speech about status, loyalty, and owed perks. But he didn't look at her first. He looked at Grandma, noticing the hospital bracelet still on her wrist and the way she gripped the armrest with white knuckles. Then he turned to Marcus and asked quietly, "What's the situation?" Karen jumped in. "Captain, thank goodness these passengers are refusing to relinquish bulkhead seats my family requires. I'm Platinum Elite. I've been loyal for—" The captain raised one hand. She stopped mid-sentence. I'd never seen anything like it. He examined our boarding passes, noting the medical pre-board request, then glanced at Karen's. "Ma'am, your seats are 12D, 12E, 12F, correct?" "Yes, but I always—" He cut her off gently but firmly. "The bulkhead seats on this aircraft are reserved. These passengers have a verified medical need." Karen's face flushed crimson. "With all due respect, Captain, she looks fine to me. My son is tall. He'll be in pain the whole flight." At that moment, her son muttered, "Mom, it's fine. I'm good." She shot him a glare sharp enough to melt steel, and he shrank back. The captain sighed, a long, knowing sigh, and then did something I hadn't expected. He addressed the cabin using his mic, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a passenger traveling with a serious heart condition who requires legroom in the bulkhead for medical reasons. If anyone in a bulkhead seat on the right side would be willing to swap with another family, we could resolve this quickly and depart on time." Dead silence. A few people shifted uneasily. Nobody volunteered. Karen saw this moment. Nobody else thought it was fair either. But the captain ignored her and looked at me. "Sir, may I see the medical documentation?" I handed over the folder. Discharge summary, doctor's note, everything. He read it carefully, nodded, and returned it. Then he faced Karen again. "Ma'am, I need you to take your assigned seats." Her eyes went wide. "Are you seriously choosing them over a loyal customer?" "I'm choosing safety over status," he said calmly. "Please return to your seats." I thought it was over. I was wrong. Karen pulled out her phone, hit record, and narrated loudly, "Everyone, this is how the airline treats Platinum members. They let people with fake medical excuses steal your seats, while loyal customers suffer." Passengers started filming. Some her, some us. Grandma's breathing quickened. Mom reached across to hold her hand. Marcus tried to escort Karen back, but she jerked away. "Don't touch me. I know my rights." Her husband spoke quietly. "Honey, let's just sit down." "No," she shouted, loud enough to make a baby 3 rows back start crying. "I'm not letting them win." The captain signaled the gate agent, who whispered into her radio. I caught the words customer of size and possible removal, but wasn't sure. Karen kept filming, zooming in on Grandma's face. "Look at her. She's fine. This is discrimination against families." That's when Grandma spoke for the first time. Her voice was soft, shaky, but clear enough with mic on Karen's phone to catch. "Young lady, I almost died 2 weeks ago. Please let us fly in peace." The cabin went utterly silent. You could hear the hum of the air vents. Karen hesitated for half a second, then doubled down. Classic guilt trip. But the tide was turning. A man in first class stood up. "Captain, my wife and I are in 2A and 2B. We'll swap with them if it helps." Another voice chimed in from the back. "We'll take whatever's left. Just get this woman to sit down. 3 offers in 10 seconds. Karen's face twisted. She looked around, realizing the entire plane was against her. Her son was red-faced, staring at the floor. Her husband looked like he wished he could vanish. The captain nodded at the volunteers. "Thank you, but I have another solution." He turned to Karen. "Ma'am, since your family requires 3 seats together with extra legroom, I'm upgrading all 3 of you to bulkhead row in first class, row 1 on the right. It's empty today. You'll have all the space you need." Karen blinked. Anger drained for a moment, replaced by confusion. "First class?" "Yes, ma'am. Complimentary upgrade, but only if you end this immediately and move your family there now." You could see the gears turning in her head. She wanted to keep fighting, but free first class was tempting. Her mouth opened, closed, and finally, she lowered her phone. "Well, that's more appropriate," she said, turning to us with a smug little smile, as if she had won. "Enjoy economy bulkhead," she added, walking toward the front, but the captain held up a hand. "One more thing." He looked at me. "Sir, since this disturbance caused undue stress to your grandmother, I'm moving your party to the left bulkhead in first class. Seats 1A, 1B, 1C. You'll have the entire row to yourselves." The cabin erupted in applause. Grandma stopped in the aisle. The captain continued. "And ma'am," he said, turning back to Karen, "you and your family will be seated in 12D, 12E, and 12F as originally assigned." Her eyes went wide. "But you just said—" "I said I'd upgrade you if you ended this immediately and quietly." You continued recording and disturbing passengers. That offer is withdrawn. Karen's face turned from red to purple. She started screaming, lawsuits, corporate, threats to get him fired. 2 gate agents appeared at the door. The captain nodded once. They escorted her off the plane, still yelling, with her husband and son trailing behind, looking mortified. Doors closed. The applause turned to cheers. Grandma squeezed my hand, tears in her eyes. "Bless that man," she whispered. We taxied out on time. First-class attendants brought her warm blankets, extra pillows, and checked on her constantly. She slept most of the flight. But here's the part that still shocks me. As we deplaned in Seattle, a flight attendant pulled me aside. "She's done this exact thing on this route 3 times before," she whispered. "Always demands bulkhead. Always picks on elderly or disabled passengers. Corporate knows, but she was married to someone important until today." I asked what changed. The attendant smiled. "The captain's retiring in 2 weeks. Nothing to lose." I laughed for the first time in weeks. Later that evening, I scrolled Reddit while Grandma napped by the fireplace. A post on r/Delta caught my eye. Platinum Karen finally gets removed from ORD to SEA. Full video inside. Over 8,000 upvotes. A TikTok linked in the thread already had 3 million views. Same red blazer. Same screaming match. Filmed from 3 angles. Comments revealed the truth. This wasn't random entitlement. It was calculated. She'd been harassing vulnerable passengers for years, exploiting her husband's corporate position. One flight attendant account confirmed. This year was different because the captain is retiring and her husband had just been demoted. Suddenly, the magic stopped. She wasn't just a Karen. She was clinging to a status symbol about to vanish forever. Those bulkhead seats weren't about her son. They were the last proof she still mattered. When the captain shut her down, she lost more than a seat. She lost the illusion of power. I showed the thread to my mom. She laughed quietly, watching Grandma play with the great-grandkids. "All that rage," she said, "over legroom she didn't even pay for." Later, the airline emailed us a formal apology, 15,000 miles each, and confirmation that Karen and her family were placed on the no-fly list pending investigation. Grandma never saw the Reddit thread. She doesn't need to know the ugly why. All she knows is that a kind captain and a plane full of strangers stood up for her. Sometimes the real twist is a revenge. It's realizing the bully was a fragile one all along, raging to hide how small she felt. And the best part? Grandma made it to Christmas. She held every great-grandchild, ate 2 helpings of pie, and danced slowly to her favorite Nat King Cole song with my dad. If you enjoyed this story, hit subscribe. Every subscription motivates me to bring more dramatic HOA stories. Don't forget to tap the bell. so you never miss a new upload. I'll see you in the next story, where justice gets even sweeter.